heart health. And in case you're wondering what that means, it is the health of your heart. What?
Let's talk about heart health, in case you're wondering. It's about your heart.
No, so you know, it's not a common term, heart health. It's not a common term.
Well, there's a heart there.
Yeah. And you know, it's not heart. I'm just saying. Okay, so what are we talking about when we are talking about heart health? We're essentially talking about you taking steps and, you know, taking measures to ensure that your health, your heart, is in its prime form at any and
pumping as it should. Pumping proportionately, pumping around. I don't even want to go to the mechanics of the heart.
Pumping. Yonga Agbeniga is a medical practitioner, and she's here with us to have this conversation again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank God it's hard today. She's not likely to tell me anything that will scare me today.
Amen. Because one of the things that I have found out is that, first of all, according to research, high blood pressure control, they say, is possible. Nearly 1 in 2 adults all over the world has high blood pressure, according to data. And it's only about 1 out of 4 that have it under control. And let's have conversations around this morning. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you very much.
Well, high blood pressure is one of those conditions, right? That's not the only one.
Yeah, when we talk of heart health, it borders around various things. When we look at the structure or the anatomy of the heart, that's the structure, the physiological structure of the heart. We're looking at the muscles of the heart. We're looking at the blood vessels, the network of blood vessels around the heart, the veins, the arteries. So you're looking at all that network and everything encompassing it to say that you are heart healthy. Everything which I've just mentioned should be in place. Now, the one you spoke about, which is the high blood pressure, has to do with blood flow through those things. Those things I called arteries and veins. Let's just look at them as wires that are connecting the heart. So one set of wires carry blood away from the heart, another set carry blood to the heart. So it has to do with oxygenated blood when you breathe in, and then deoxygenated blood. So those wires pass the blood around the heart. Now, when there's blockage in one of those wires, which are called arteries, blood vessels, or veins, then there is buildup of pressure. The heart is still pumping, okay? The heart is still pumping, and the pressure is still maintained from the heart. However, the space in between, you see, you have a circle and there's a pump going on, but the space has been reduced because there's fat deposits there. So the radius, or let's not use diameter, the radius has been reduced, and so that pressure is sustained, but then the outlet is reduced. So there's a buildup of pressure inside the blood vessels. So that results in high blood pressure. So people think basically that the first problem that we have with high blood pressure is, oh, I'm thinking something is wrong. The first point of call for high blood pressure is reduced output through the blood vessels called the arteries.
Reduced output.
How does a doctor discover this reduction in the area through which the blood flows?
Okay, so there are various tests that can be carried out, like there are heart markers that you can check. So that's why it's important to always go for your screenings. I always recommend routine screening for heart health. You have all your parameters. You need to check your cholesterol. You need to check your HDL, LDL, good and bad cholesterol. You need to check your triglycerides. But there are other tests that triglycerides, that's the fats that come from fried foods.
It's not common English.
We should not eat fried food.
Huh?
Okay, so those parameters...
I told you about Yonda. We should not eat fried food.
No, she's not saying, she's just giving you conditions. Isn't that what you're doing?
Yes, I'm explaining the chemistry.
You're not saying, you can eat, but these are the consequences. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay,
Simple.
reduce fried foods.
Yeah, so the truth is, you when you check those markers, there are other things you will check, but let me talk about the markers. Markers are things that are produced in your blood when there's a problem, or when you're happy, something is dropped in your blood. When you're shouting, something is dropped. When you are screaming, there's a chemical that is dropped. Those are called markers. So we take your blood and we measure those markers. Those markers give us an idea of what is going on in the body. So when we want to check for heart health, there are markers which we would check for. Those are just basic markers. There are others, troponin, myoglobin, and all that. You check for muscle, your predisposition to a heart attack. And then, of course, I always recommend bioenergy testing, which will give you that 1-year prognosis, 5-year prognosis, look at all your chances of developing a heart disease, and then we'll also tell you where you are and what can happen, and maybe within a year or so. It just tells you where you are positionally. But however, the regular markers are the ones we call cholesterol, HDL, that's high density proteins, we call them good fat, sorry. Then the LDL, that is the bad fat. And then the triglycerides, those are the ones that you get from fried foods, snacking, baked products, oils, and all that. So when you check those 4 markers, they're a pretty indication of where you currently are on the health curve with regards to your heart. But if you continue to load up on all those bad things, then you will be predisposed to a heart condition. Another way you can know, I'll shake some tables.
Isn't that what you do all the time?
As usual. So it's easier to know if there's a predisposition to...
Go ahead.
If there's a predisposition to heart disease or high blood pressure or diabetes, sometimes I call them cousins. When there's high blood pressure, there'll be diabetes. When there's diabetes, there will ultimately be high blood pressure because of glycogen, fat processing, and all that. However, if you see a man with a big bulge, okay, he has this bulge. Like when we say six packs is not only because it's fine, trendy, and all that. It's because the abdominal region from here to this place is where all the organs are. And so when you have a fatty bulge with your tummy bulging out and fat pressing on those organs, the chances are that that fat is also found inside those blood vessels that we call wires. So they're not only deposited in front of you here, they're also deposited inside your arteries. And when we check the blood pressure, they will ultimately be high. And because you have to process all that fat, then it's stored into glycogen, and then sometimes it's released arbitrarily. And then, of course, there's the predisposition to diabetes. So they're cousins.
Doctor, sometimes a man has a big stomach, as you say, but this big stomach, you compress. It's not hard. And there's some you press and it's like a football. It doesn't move. It's just solid. You know, you can't make any impact.
Okay, so
what's the difference? Causes that?
Okay, so that it's when you're doing basic checks. Okay, you're doing basic physiological tests. You're not taking blood checks and all that. Like when you come in, we do your visceral fats. We take a tape measure and measure your waist circumference to give us an idea. So there are 2 categories of conditions that can show from that. There can either be a colonic, there can be deposits in the colon, okay, or maybe all that stuff, or it could be fat. But when you do that waist circumference, it just gives you a picture of what is really going on there. So those conditions can either there's something up with the colon, with bulge or something, or there's just fat. But when you're taking that waist circumference, you just want to have an idea of what is going on. It's when you zoom in, check up, that you find out, is it a colon issue or is it fat issue? But really, waist circumference is just an indication of what is going on. There's a caveat for women. Now, you know, women who have undergone pregnancy, delivery, you can particularly say that, oh, there's a bulge and it has to be fat. It could be uterine enlarged, maybe the uterus has enlarged during delivery and all that. So, but even at that, there's a range that you use to check as just a visible marker.
Now, this cutting down on fried food, does air frying make any difference? Or frying is frying?
No, frying is not frying. Air frying just tries to fry without oil. So, like if you're air frying Titus fish, that's mackerel. Okay, that's the name.
That's already oily now.
Yeah, so if you're air frying it, it will bring out the oil from the fish by itself. Yeah, so you're not doing.
But that's what you need in the oily fish, isn't it? Is the oil that you need?
You need the omega-3 from mackerel, from sardines, not canned sardine.
So you don't need to air fry Titus.
You can air fry it. Sorry, you can air fry it because it will bring out the oil from the fish, the omega-3.
But it's going to drain out.
Yeah, so you have it draining out, which is good. You don't want the excess oil because it's already been processed with the heat. So the one left in omega-3 is good for the body.
So if you say cut down on fried food, you can go ahead and air fry your food and eat it. So you can still fry.
Yes, air fry, oilless.
Air fry, oilless. So my plantain.
Air fry. It's very.
You can just brush it with oil.
It tastes amazing.
Not bolio.
It's like boli.
But boli is good.
Boli is good.
I want dudu. I don't want boli. There's a difference. Now we're talking about the heart. Okay, I know from where we are now that nutrition is major when it comes to the health of the heart, right? But these days it seems like our options are limited. So, advice.
We think our options are limited.
Okay.
Yeah, so we think our
When was the last time you saw the pap wrapped in leaves? You see, that's the one that I was eating when I was in secondary school. Every Thursday night in boarding school, they will give us a call with vegetables.
Oh, right. That's true.
Yuck.
You see?
It's not yuck.
Oh, yuck, right?
It tastes
if
nice
you don't
also.
eat it, just forget it. No dinner for you.
Yeah, true. Well, our options are actually limited, but then it's up to us to try and make those choices, look for them. We think they are actually limited, but when we need them, we will find them. I mean, there are options everywhere.
Where can you get a car to buy?
It doesn't have, in all honesty, it doesn't have to be a core. That's where I'm going, where you can find a forero. I know we have a global audience. Then you can do cabbage, kale, spirulina, all that stuff. Grain collard, vegetables, all types of grains will aid heart health. Any grain will aid heart health. Fruits, vegetables, fiber will aid heart health. Funny enough.
Have you noticed that there are no fruits in Lagos anymore?
You have to get them at the mall most times.
Wow.
To buy fruits, you sometimes have to go to the mall.
Yes, I went searching for oranges. I couldn't find oranges. I searched for pineapples. Some shriveled avocado that look like they're 10 years old, and I'm told that they're 500 naira a piece. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, what's going on? Is it the farmer-herder crisis that won't allow fruits grow, or what?
It's climate change. Don't quote me. You know, Yonda, other than nutrition, what other things, what other lifestyle practices do we need to imbibe for heart health?
Okay, I said earlier that in both sexes, but male and female, six packs is not only like trendy, fine, but it's important to ensure that that place is kept as low as possible. So exercise is amazing. The one organ that needs to continuously work.
I was checking you out.
Oh, wow. at least I have 3.
If not 6.
I don't have 6. At least I have 3 packs.
3 pack. Okay.
I've tried.
Okay, so one organ that must continuously work, that the harder it works, the better, is the heart. So exercise, brisk walking. For ladies, I say if you can't do brisk walking, kangaroo jumps. I call it spot jumping. Now, if you are menopausal, have osteoporosis, poor bone density, porosity, if you're going to do jumping jacks, please be careful. We don't want a situation where you fall off and break a bone.
If you have arthritis.
Yes.
If you don't know what jumping jacks is, just Google it. It's the one that you do like this.
Yes.
Jumping jack, as in
It
Jack
works.
London. Jack, J-A-C-K. Jumping jack. Google it.
Yeah, because every organ, most of your
Every part of the body.
every part of your body is involved. Another excellent thing is swimming. Swimming is fun, lawn tennis, all that stuff. Yeah, so those things aid you to move your muscle, and then oxygenation, and your heart is contracting. So that's what you want. You want the left ventricle to be pumping very well, ejection volume, impedance, and all that. And then another thing is the quality of fats that are building the walls of the blood vessels, called the arteries, that I called wires initially, is also important, because you need them to be able to contract very well with the pumping of the heart. If they are too rigid, formed from bad fats, you need things like avocado. All that stuff will help build the heart. Omega-3, CoQ10, all stuff like that will help build the heart wall, the muscle of the blood vessel. So if they're not contracting very well, you could be prone to a stroke or an aneurysm. What that means is that because they're not contracting very well, forget the fact that they're already blocked with fat, which is called plaque, cholesterol. If they're not contracting very well, and then it breaks, and there's a leakage of blood, a part doesn't get blood, then that cell in those areas die. And that's where we have what we call a transient ischemic attack, in which the person knocks out, or a stroke, or an aneurysm. So it's really important that all the parameters are kept in check, because a stroke sometimes is not reversible. This part did not get oxygen, and the cells just died. So there's nothing you're going to do to wake up those dead cells.
Well, we just got one tweet now.
Okay.
Victor Owo is asking, can you please ask the doctor to advise men who refuse to take BP meds because of its major side effect, because its major side effect is ED. I don't know what ED is. What can they take?
Dysfunction.
Executive director. Okay, so what can they take instead of the meds? You don't know.
I do.
You do.
Well, you don't help. Well, the first thing is you shouldn't go off your medications. You shouldn't go off your medications without guidance. So if you want to switch to lifestyle condition, then you have to do it guided. Like, I know people who want to switch to maybe supplements, dietary supplements, to lifestyle modification and all that. You should do it with guidance. So you can't just say, oh, I heard this supplement works, I heard this works, I heard this works. That's running off the mill. You need what we call guided nutrient supplementation to be able to gradually wean yourself off those things. Some of the meds might have ED, erectile dysfunction properties, but then while you're being placed on those medications, you should discuss your fears and your concerns with your practitioner. Yeah.
Okay, now, you know those vessels that you spoke about earlier, if they have plaque in them, is there any way of reversing that? Is there anything that doctors can give one to remove the plaque?
Okay, so I'll just say from my own end of lifestyle modification, there are a lot of things that you can do to remove plaque. There are a lot of things you can do to remove plaque. The first thing is you need to lose weight. So
back to exercise.
Yeah, the cholesterol will go when you lose the weight.
Oh,
then, there are a lot of things that we can discuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See your doctor.
I shall see you in camera.
Okay, but there's something you mentioned earlier, and I'm on hopkinsmedicine.org now, talking about knowing your heart risks. You mentioned knowing your heart risks the other time, and Hopkins is saying common heart risks include age, family history, high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, and diabetes. Some of them you have mentioned earlier, but speak to the age and family history ambit.
Family history is just default programming. Then, if daddy had high blood pressure,
there's a chance.
Yeah. Now, two things could cause that. Number one, there's something called genetic predisposition. There are a group of people that. Now this is a little. This one goes more into some form of biochemistry. Okay. There is a group of people that even if they're drinking water and they're not eating fats, they're still going to have plaques. So they have a genetic predisposition to it. They're called people that have lipoprotein, something A or so, and either way they're going to retain fat.
You don't have a chance.
Yeah. So, but there are modifications there are things that you can do, especially when it comes to lifestyle modification, wellness, and stuff. Those people are usually deficient in lysine. So when you replace that amino acid that is deficient, those lysine rings are covered. Now this is kind of a little bit deep. So for them, there's a specific protocol that you put them on, those people with that. So if it is genetic, if it's a genetic predisposition, not because of lifestyle mismanagement of your diet, then there's a protocol that you can engage for them to help those people with that condition.
Is there such a thing as too much exercises? You are not a fitness person, but is there such a thing as too much exercise, effect of exercise on the human body? Okay,
so for moderation is the key to everything. So you don't want to have so much lactic acid build up and your muscles are paining you, and then you have to go and take painkillers to knock them off.
Okay.
You don't want to collapse. That's a big problem for the heart already.
I saw this information. Someone shared this information with me. They call it restricted. It's about restricted eating. It says it's unconfirmed. It says you are at the 91% higher risk of dying from cardiovascular disease over a median period of 8 years relative to people who ate across 12 to 16 hours. It's actually talking about those, what's it called? Intermittent fasting. Does that have any impact on the heart health?
Intermittent fasting is beneficial to general health. Because, what you do with it is, and that's why I talk about, I hope it don't come from my head. Go on. That's why I talk about keto diets. Okay, so what we usually advise is that you go on a sustainable diet, lifestyle modification. If you're doing intermittent fasting, it will benefit the whole body. And if you're doing that...
What is intermittent fasting anyway?
So you're skipping your meals just to try and fast. Let your digestive system rest from metabolic processes. Metabolic process, that's breakdown, build up, and all that. Just to let it rest, allows you to switch from your primary source of energy, glucose, and then your body goes into glycogen, your reserve, and pulls that out to allow you to walk. Now that's why I brought in the keto diet. If you go on a keto diet forever, what you're doing is shutting down your primary source of glucose and living forever on glycogen. Your body was not meant to function in that phase. So if you're doing that keto diet, you do it for a period of time, get your goals achieved, and then switch back and do correct lifestyle feeding modification.
Okay.
So
Well, this is another endless conversation, and I'm happy you have also scared Alero again. But for now, we have to thank you for being here. Yonda Gbeniga is a lifestyle doctor. Thank you again for your time this morning.